Okay, so we're actually in a new project now. I've dropped a few random clips down into the timeline, and we're gonna do an example video. So we have 4 video clips, and Kirk, you're gonna play through them real quick. Sounds so bad. Sounds horrible. Basically, it was in-camera audio that was being used. We're not gonna end up really even using the audio. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you that in the timeline, you can actually choose to mute audio, or you can actually do something called solo audio. So check this out. You can either click the M, that will mute the audio. So as you can see, we can play it and it becomes mute. Or you can solo audio by clicking on S. So because we don't have multiple audio tracks, you can't actually see this working, but basically this S means that this single track will be solo. So say we had a ton of different audio tracks with audio on it, only this track would be heard when you play through it. Now the same thing can be said for the video. If you go to video, you can actually blind tracks. So say you don't want to see this track, V1, you can actually blind it by clicking on the eye, and it will make that track disappear. Check this out. I'm going to put this clip on top of this clip. Now remember, you can only see the clip that is on top when you're talking about video clips. But say you actually don't want to see this clip that you're seeing on top. Say you want to see the clip on the bottom. You can blind this clip on top, and then suddenly you're going to see this clip on the bottom. So we're going to click on this clip, and you're going to go back into this thing called the source window, if you remember. Now, the source window is a little bit different. We didn't tell you, but you can actually look at different tabs in the source window. So instead of looking at the footage, you can actually go into the effects control tab and actually check out. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the clip, and we're going to go back into the source window. Now, usually the source window is where you actually can see what the clip looks like, but we didn't actually tell you that there's another tab that you can click on called Effect Controls. Correct. So Effect Controls is click on the clip again, double click on it. And inside Effect Controls, you can actually see both video effects and audio effects that you can actually use to manipulate the clip. So each clip has default video effects and default audio effects, and we'll tell you a little bit later how you can add even more effects on to that via another window. Video effects, we have motion, and inside of motion you have position. Within position, you can change the position of the clip in the X direction and in the Y direction. You can reset to the default position by clicking on this. You can go into scale as well. 100 is just normal. You can go down to make it smaller, or zoom in by using something, a value or parameter that's over 100. Let's go reset it to the default parameter again. Rotation, you can of course rotate as well. Let's reset it. Let's go to opacity. Opacity enables you to change the transparency of your clip. This is interesting. I'm not going to click on the stopwatch yet. The stopwatch is something called keyframing, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But for now, let's just talk about the transparency. It's at 100% right now. Anything less than 100% is going to be less and less transparent. Let's do this. Let's put this clip on top of this clip again. Now we're going to put the playhead on top of this clip. Now we're going to change the opacity down to 50%. Now what you're actually seeing is you're actually seeing half of this clip and half of the clip underneath it. It's actually at 47%, but you get the point. Pretty cool. Now we're going to go into audio effects. And the only audio effect that we're going to really cover is the volume. Go into volume, and you can change the level of the volume to make it louder or softer, quieter. There are other video effects and other audio effects that you can put on your clip. We're going to go back down into the project window. There is another tab that we didn't talk about called effects that you can actually go into. We're going to go into first video effects. And as you can see, there are all sorts of different effect options. Let's go into blur. Click on Gaussian blur. We're going to do this first. We're going to drag Gaussian blur over to our clip. As you can see, when we put an effect onto our clip, it now appears in effect controls up here in this window. So now we have all of the normal effects, such as, the position, the scale, everything under motion. We have opacity, And now added to that is Gaussian blur. So you can now ramp up that parameter, make it as blurry as you want. I want to show you guys a little something. This effects panel is always going to have the same effects on it. It's never going to change. But this effects control panel changes according to the clip that you're actually clicked on. So right now we're clicked on this clip. If we go to click on this other clip, that Gaussian blur effect is going to disappear because we only applied it to this clip. So effects controls is dependent on the specific clip that you're actually clicked on. There are a bunch of other effects that you can use as far as video goes. Color correction, distort, noise and grain. That's a lot of stuff that you can go in and just figure out yourself. They're really intuitive, and some of them are very useful. Some of them aren't really that useful. We're going to go into audio effects now. Audio effects has a ton of different options that you can choose. We're going to go more in depth as far as audio effects in later tutorials. And if you actually click on the channel, there's actually some really sick tutorials already in place that you can take a look at. Go into video transitions. We're going to go and we're going to show you the most common transition I think that we all use. Go into dissolve, go into cross dissolve, and we're going to zoom in on our timeline. You can zoom in by clicking the plus key, hotkey on the keyboard. We're going to go right in between where these two clips touch each other. Oops, let's actually take this blur effect off. Delete. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to put cross dissolve in between these two clips. There we go. And as you can see, it slowly dissolves between each clip as opposed to hard cutting. I'm going to take this cross dissolve off. I'm going to show you this is a hard cut. And that's different than the smooth cross dissolve. There are tons of different other transitions you can use. I'm not going to go through them. You can check them out on your own time. Let's go to audio transitions. Most common audio transition is called constant power. I'm going to drag constant power in between both tracks. And as you can see, you're going to be able to smoothly transition from one clip to the audio of the other clip. All right, guys, so I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add a title. All you got to do is click on the title tool or click T on the keyboard. And as you can see here, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to call this my first video. Yay. Cool. Okay, so as you can see, as soon as you start typing, a title clip basically appears out of nowhere. And then through this clip, you're able to click on your title. And this title basically acts like a standalone clip, basically. It says my first video on the clip when you change the title text actually inside. So let's go to the effects controls. And as you can see, just like a clip, you can do anything that you want as far as the motion. You can position it where you want. You can even scale it as you want. Before I even touch this, though, I go into the text effect options. This is actually where I go first. So I actually affect the, I actually usually change the font first. I want the font to be Din Ot. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that, but it's what I use for any kind of title you see on my channel is going to use that font. You can also go inside the text effects and actually change the size here as well. Yeah, there you go. I want to actually show you guys, you see these things right here. These are called safety margins. This is not actually going to be on your actual video. This is something that's actually just on the screen that I put on by clicking on the wrench. You can go and toggle it on or off. I usually like to keep it on when I'm doing titling because, as you can see, it allows you to center things. So let's go into motion. I'm clicked on the title clip. And I'm going to go into position and position this perfectly. Okay, then I'm going to turn my safety margins off. It's kind of been on this whole time. And one thing I forgot to tell you. So you know about the blade tool. You can cut this and go to your selection tool and then use the delete key to delete that. But another thing that you can do as far as cutting footage is you can actually hover your mouse on the edge of any kind of clip, whether it's a text clip or a regular footage clip. And you can actually extend it like that. And you can cut it like that. So it's pretty cool. You can change the length of it that easy. You can do the same thing for clips as well. Control Z to undo what I just did. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. And as you see, I can press play right here.